But you're always subject to things of that nature, expenses, potential interest.
I think for the public's information, we hired an appraiser. We spent money for that to go out and evaluate to see where we're at relative to to this tax certiorari and the value of the property. We've hired what we think is a very competent tax attorney to work with us on this, and between them and our assessor, this is the result of their best thinking. The assessor came and reviewed this with us probably a month ago, knowing that we would have to resolve this, accept it or one way or the other, and so that's where we're at tonight. Any other discussion on this? I would like to say one thing pursuant of what really Phil's also saying. It's just like we'll build a new building and people move out of the old building into the new building, and the next thing you know, when the old building is unoccupied, the people who own it will put in a tax certiorari, and then we'll proceed on, and the next thing you know, we're paying back on a building where someone was in it, was valued that way, and now all of a sudden they're not there. That's what happened in this building, 2 buildings. The county had many offices, and they just moved out to some of their locations, and they've been unable to fill them, and the value of this is based on the cost of the building, but the revenue, in addition to the revenue that's generated by it. Okay, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Bloomfield?
Aye.
Councilman Capella?
Aye.
Councilman Lyon?
Aye.
Councilman Santorino?
Aye.
Councilman Newell?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Who moved the motion?
I did.
Thank you.
My second.
Yeah, I took that.
Okay. And by the way, there are many more. That's what this is. We've been working on them, and we'll continue to work on them. And it is what it is.
Just as an editorial comment, there's probably not a commercial property in the village of Goshen that hasn't inserted that. We have gone from on the SCAR proceedings, if we were small, single-family home residential, from about 35 2 years ago to where we're well over 400 today for this year. And it's an ongoing problem, the nature of the economy and the real estate industry.
My concern is saddling the taxpayers with a debt that just because of poor management, poor marketing, or poor planning.
In fact, that is what caused it.
In fact, that's what it is. I just want to be sensitive to that area. I can't make magic, and I don't have a silver bullet, but I certainly can ask those questions and think about that, because you're absolutely right. There are more certioraries coming down the line. And part of the fire district, the library, and the school, we're all paying these taxes. And now, as Doug said, the people that had benefited from this are now asking for money back. So
I saw a notice I put in your mailboxes. It was a think tank in New York State, and they're concerned about the big boxes and commercial space that's unused at the current time, where businesses, long-term businesses, Circuit City and others, have just gone out of business. And those properties all of a sudden are going to drop in tax revenue, and they've been collecting taxes at a certain rate, and now all these communities that have been in schools, etc., fire departments who've been basing their budgets on that, it's a loss of revenue. And we've talked about this many times, that putting our 2010 budget together is very difficult. I really believe 2011 is going to be much more difficult, not just for the town, but for every municipality and school and agency in the state of New York. Okay, another issue. The next one is to discuss the request by Heritage Estates LLC for an 18-month extension on their preliminary approval. This is a discussion. I don't think we'll resolve it tonight. I'd like to make my comments on this, and the board can do their thinking. Based on my private enterprise before I came here, from an engineering perspective, any time you had a project, you had a critical path. And in the critical path, you had you've tried to multitask to have certain things done by a certain time. So that by the end date, you have everything in place to do what you need to do. And I've been thinking about this since Monday, and the fact is the town board does not have benefit of that. Now, the planning board may, because they've been interacting with this applicant all along. And but we don't have benefit of that knowledge. And so I think what I'd like to do is request any applicant who comes forward with a request of an extension to tell us what has their critical path been and how well are they doing on that, and when do they expect to finish it. Whether it be 18 months or 6 months or 3.5 months or whatever it is, and so that we can do a better job of thinking through the extension.
Just so the board's aware, this preliminary approval would expire in end of January next year, so you will have time to consider and act on, should you so wish, the extension. This particular applicant, out of the planning board, had 67 requirements to go to final. And I do not know the status of completion of those items. I think there's a substantial part.
Well, we were here
Monday night
right. With a half a dozen items that are really not in our...
I understand that, but I want to know about all the other items, like the Department of Health, the DEC, and all these other things that may be a reason for your wanting the extension.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we just need to see the picture, because again, this board is naked when it comes to knowing where you've been with the
We have a
planning.
whole fancy chart we can give you a copy of that has...
Well, that's what I'd like.
All of the approvals,
Sure.
all of the,
Yeah, we're not looking to reinvent the wheel, but I think just even corresponding comments off the resolution, just to let us know status-wise, and they can make a more informed decision.
We have probably, there's 4 involved agencies, and basically that's what we're doing now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because you will not expire to the end of January, as I recall.
Our preliminary will be requesting an extension in January to the planning board, but our exemption from the code will also expire. The 6 months will be up for all of those projects in January.
Do you know when in January?
Well, you adopted the
14th.
23rd.
23rd.
So it's the end of the month, that's why, again, you will have 2 meetings prior to act on this, Well, I just wanted,
Well, we're certainly going to act on it.
Yeah.
I just want to, I'm just kind of tonight, and that was my thoughts. I mean, hey, board, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I just feel like I don't have enough information to make a decision,
Yeah, I think also, in fairness, the applicant should be aware that some of the concern was the fact that, as you know, this project, along with, I believe, 4 others, was specifically exempted under the new code amendment from the purview of the new zoning. And they do not wish to further a situation where there's no end, if you will, to the processing. So this can just be placed on the shelf and be, activated in years to come. And they would like to bring some resolution. Now, I know for a fact the applicant has been diligently working on this. To what extent, I can't tell you, because I didn't go over the 67 conditions which the planning board placed on it.
Well, for example, I know about the sewer, for example. There's a real issue we're working on, plodding along, and it's up to us to figure out when that's going to be resolved so we can give you an answer. But what else is there? DEC, Department of Health, yada, yada, and all these others.
That's the biggie, actually.
Yeah, probably.
And it may be the only one, but I just need to know what that is so that we can then, as a board, say, okay, well, we're going to may resolve that on the 1st of February. Well, okay, well then we'll build off of that. Okay. So if you could do that, Steve, between now and the end of the year, just give us a copy of your critical path, what it is you have to do and have been doing and where you're at on all those. And we will, in fact...
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, I would think, just for the sake of ease and moving forward, they could use the format of the resolution on the conditional approval and just respond to the 67 conditions, just status-wise.
Well, some of those are, I'd rather give you...
That's not going to be sufficient.
I'd rather present it, the key fact, there's 67 of those. Of the 67, there's 6 that are critical.
Okay.
Speedies permit for our wastewater treatment plant, water taking permit, wetland disturbance permit, health department approval, and DEC approval for plans for sewer and water. Those are critical.
And so those then, what we need to say is, okay, you applied for whatever it is, and you expect something by this date. And so therefore, you know, or you don't, it's open-ended, you don't know when to expect it. So it would give us some relativity of...
I was just trying to standardize some type of submission, because you're going to have other requests.
Well, what I'm saying is, though, any engineering thing, Dennis, is you have what they call a critical path.